he still hadn't come to terms with life. And that didn't make it great.
A day at Canada's Wonderland is a day like no other. 30 hair-raising rides, 5 live shows, over 20 performances daily, 25 restaurants, 18 international boutiques, 12 cartoon characters, 20 special attractions, 12 hours a day, every day, from only $10.95. Come for the day of your life today at Canada's Wonderland.
Yeas pour 139, 139. Nays contre 133, 133.
The government has been defeated, 139 to 133. To repeat, the Conservative minority government of Joe Clark has been defeated in this vote of one of confidence on the budget of John Crosbie, the finance minister, 139 to 133. The defeat of the government means that there probably will be an election in February. At this moment, what happens from here, you can see there is a degree of pandemonium in the House itself. What happens from here is that the Prime Minister needs to go to the Governor General and ask for dissolution of the House.
Good morning. This morning, the third of the national political leaders. You've already seen Prime Minister Clark and NDP leader Ed Broadbent. Today, Pierre Trudeau, leader of the Liberal Party, former Prime Minister of Canada. Mr. Trudeau, is it not a fact, sir, with all due deference, humility and respect, that you are running for the Prime Ministership of this country in a most reluctant fashion, and that really you're just, if you win, you will become a pro tem caretaker until a successor is chosen?
No, Jack, that's not true.
Can you disabuse me of that as I look at what's happened recently? Your form of campaign, your reluctance when you stepped out, you talked about public and private reasons, strong both for going and staying. I think perhaps the people in British Columbia and the territories in the Yukon would like you to give us what happened from the time you were defeated until where you are now, in terms of your personal plans.
Well, Jack, that's quite easy. In the fall, I decided I would retire, 23rd of November to be precise. I asked for the party to call a leadership convention so my successor could be chosen. And my caucus said, well, we're sorry to see you go, but we'll do that. But what happens if there's an election before we have time to have a leadership convention? Would you come back? And I said I wouldn't come back easily. I'd come back if I were asked 3 times on bended knee, is the amusing form I put it in.
Good evening. It's official now. The F-18A has won the fighter plane contract, a competition it first entered years ago. The plane's manufacturer, McDonnell Douglas, will now replace Canada's aging fighter force with new and obviously improved models. But it will do so only at a price. We have 2 reports. The first from Brian Stewart in Ottawa.
The winning McDonnell Douglas 18A will cost $15 million a copy and is almost certain to be a highly controversial buy.
It was to be a private ceremony, but Port Coquitlam residents just couldn't stay away. In the rain, they gathered around the old municipal hall, waiting to catch a glimpse of Terry Fox, the hometown hero they're so very proud of. This was a big day for the handsome young man. His grandmother was in from Manitoba, his aunt and uncle from Alberta. The whole family wanted to witness the occasion. Fox was more than halfway across Canada in his marathon of hope before cancer forced a halt to the run. This afternoon, he became the youngest person to ever receive the Companion of the Order of Canada.
There's nothing like it. Thank you, Colonel. I love it when it's my birthday. Mom always has my favorite, Kentucky Fried Chicken with french fries and the Creole salad. Mom says it's good for me, but I just like it because it's good chicken. There's nothing like it. Thank you, Colonel. Good chicken.
The day began with the high style of a state welcome for the new president at Canadian Forces Base Uplands. Mr. Reagan was making Canada the site of his first official visit outside the United States.
With him, he brought wife Nancy and a large group of cabinet secretaries and advisors. Canadian and American flags were everywhere. There was a 21-gun salute, and the guards snapped to as Governor General Edward Schreier formally welcomed Mr. Reagan to Canada.
Also pointing out to Quebecers that he understands their dilemma at a time when their government does not agree with the package that is being proclaimed into law today. The Queen will now head towards the desk where the actual signing will take place, and Barbara, it's starting to rain very gently. One description is spitting, just a gentle rain. Let's hope it holds off. The moment the Queen puts her signature on this document, it becomes law. It will be witnessed later. The Constitution is now home. A fanfare in the background, as you can hear.
What, you might ask, was the Prime Minister of Canada doing opening a giant commercial amusement park, especially on a cold, drizzly day when even worrying about the economy or the Falklands crisis might have seemed almost as much fun? Well, for one thing, Pierre Trudeau said he felt right at home.
So I think I'm from us. Actually, I'm on a busman's holiday. I come from a Wonderland. I work there all week up in Ottawa.
As much as getting a little media exposure, Trudeau was here to entertain his three sons. There were rides, some the gut-wrenching or high-flying kind, some more tailored to younger stomachs and fears. And two, there were the debates about what to try next. The procedure was distinctly unparliamentary, but in the end, a family consensus of sorts prevailed. The big hit of the day turned out to be the performing dolphins. They showed, dare it be said, a sense of teamwork and discipline that might be envied by the leader of a political party.
Ici, Radio-Canada.
April 6, 1968. On that night, exactly 15 years ago, Pierre Trudeau became leader of the Liberal Party, and a new era in Canadian politics began. Like most new leaders, Trudeau had a honeymoon period with the reporters who cover him. But today, 15 years later, relations are at an all-time low. In fact, Trudeau's virtually boycotting the media. Tonight, David Halton has a special report on the Prime Minister's new Cold War.
Prime Minister, can we have a brief assessment of the results of the conference? For the past few months, with almost no exception, Prime Minister Trudeau has systematically refused to talk to reporters. Any reporter, anywhere. The boycott is the culmination of more than a decade of often sour relations with the media, in which Trudeau never made any secret of his contempt for reporters.
You can stick it where you want, what I said. People don't believe anymore what they read in the newspapers or see on the television.
But until recently, whatever his feelings towards the media, Trudeau was no less accessible to them than many other Western leaders. That access used to be mainly through the so-called scrum, brief encounters in corridors or on the move.
I didn't push you. I did not push you. You pushed me. Don't push you again.
But after a notorious shoving incident with a reporter 7 years ago, Trudeau committed himself to holding weekly news conferences in Ottawa during parliamentary sessions. The commitment came in a letter from the Prime Minister's office to the Parliamentary Press Gallery dated December 1976. The letter pledged our common adherence to the principle of access, and spoke of Trudeau's belief that in news conferences, developments and issues of the day can be more systematically examined than is the case at present. On balance, not always, that aim was achieved in the regular news conferences that followed, which often produced fuller answers than those Trudeau gave across the road in the partisan atmosphere of Parliament's question period. There were memorable statements.
The chances of Western separatism are absolutely nil and inexistent.
Often useful clarifications of shifting government policies, sometimes even an admission by Trudeau that he made misleading public statements.
Well, you really got me there. I can't contradict you.
But since 1980, there have been fewer and fewer news conferences, and since December, none at all in the usual forum. The Prime Minister's aides say the reason is Trudeau's fury over the reporting of his Southeast Asian tour in January. During the trip, the media accompanying him gave a perhaps disproportionate amount of coverage to his time off and pressed him into making a statement he later regretted.
If I were in Canada now, I'd probably be just ending about a week skiing, which everybody else is doing if they're not down somewhere in the Caribbean.
With the resulting suspension of the regular news conference, reporters have now gone back to trying to scrum Trudeau, only to get the brush off, or at best a sarcastic put-down.
We're really here for a vacation.
Australian experts have been studying a major accident at a nuclear plant in Canada. It happened when fuel rods cracked, something the manufacturer said could never happen. 7 National News has just obtained exclusive pictures of the dangerous repairs carried out by workers to prevent deadly radiation from leaking.
Canadian built and designed reactor called the CANDO had an unblemished record since it went online 10 years ago. But now an accident at this nuclear power plant has sent shockwaves throughout Canada's nuclear industry and has raised questions about the safety of nuclear power in this country. At the Pickering facility, a refueling rod inside the reactor burst, sending a deluge of radioactive water onto the floor of the reactor building. CNN has obtained the actual video recorded by power company officials as workmen wearing moon-like suits worked frantically to shut down the reactor and contain the spill.
Okay, she's free, she's free. We're down to 0. Okay, see if she's free. The tool. See if you can turn the tool. Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute now. Okay. Go the other way. The other way, that's right. Okay. All right. Bravo, you got it. We got it. Okay. We got it.
49 minutes later, the reactor was shut down manually because automatic shutdown systems didn't work, and the flood of radioactive water was halted. Later, it was determined that the accident was caused from a buildup of brittle metal on the fuel rod that caused it to crack. While no one was injured in the accident, and while no radiation leaked into the environment, Canadian officials were indeed embarrassed.
Young drivers of Canada.
I got my young driver certificate, and now my boyfriend says I drive better than him. They taught me defensive driving.
I learned to drive defensively and well. Young drivers of Canada.
Would you cross over the grid marks?
Intriguing classroom courses, plus accident-preventing in-the-car training make it Canada's most sophisticated driving course. There's a young driver's class starting soon near you.
I think it's better, especially when you feel pressured, to do what you think is right, and not just what your friends think is okay. When I look in the mirror, I want to feel I haven't let myself down.
For information on the effects and health hazards of marijuana and hashish, write, Stay Real, Box 8888, Ottawa.
My goodness, I love to travel, but it's so good to get home again.
Oh, gee, we're nearly there, and I'm getting so nervous about my customs declaration.
But it's really quite easy.
I never know what I'm allowed.
Well, next time you leave the country for a day or a year, find out beforehand what you can bring back, and you may pay only a goose egg. Be travel-wise.
For the first time, a Japanese car company has decided to build cars in Canada. Honda has chosen a site in Alliston, Ontario. The company will spend $100 million in the town and give jobs to 350 people. Alison Smith reports.
Alliston, Ontario is a quiet farming community northwest of Toronto. Population 5,000 and growing. This empty field just outside town is the site for the new plant. The townspeople had heard rumors about it, and they're delighted with today's news.
Oh yeah, it'll be good for businesses like ours, and generally it'll be good. It's progress, and we like to see progress.
Well, it'll give 350 more jobs. That's what they're saying, so why wouldn't that be great?
We're just happy to have them here.
Honda already makes cars in the United States. Officials announced the company's Canadian plans in Ottawa with Trade Minister Ed Lumley. Lumley described the new plant as a breakthrough.
Growth that has taken place by Honda in the United States operations has been nothing short of phenomenal. And we're very hopeful that we will have the same rapid growth here in Canada.
En fait, du changement. Évidemment, c'était le thème qu'a exploité Brian Mulroney.
A new kind of store has opened in Canada, and it's promising big savings for its customers. The store is called a wholesale club, but it's not a very exclusive club, and that's made some of its competitors nervous. Karen Webb reports.
Officially, Costco is a wholesale outlet, a low-service, low-overhead warehouse-type store. You buy cases of what you want for cash. No credit cards, not a frill in sight. It's supposed to be a place where small retailers can come to take advantage of a big organization's buying power, all for the cost of a membership.
I can save money, I can save costs. In today's market, you've got to save costs.
Take it over there, don't bring it back to me. But Costco also sells memberships to any consumer who falls into the right categories. And the categories are so loose, they include just about everybody.
May 31st, 1985. Known as the Barrie tornado, we know that it affected a lot of other regions. Let's get to the details. There were 14 tornadoes, and sadly, it took the lives of 16 people. Of those 14 tornadoes, 6 of them were of F3 strength or greater. There was an F4 that hit Barrie and an F4 that hit Grand Valley. We're going to talk about those. But that means that there were tornadoes that had wind speeds that were between 250 kilometers per hour, but also a few others that had wind speeds that were clocked at over 330 kilometers per hour. Now, the city of Barrie suffered the heaviest losses of all. It was an F4 that tore through and devastated large tracts of that entire city. It took cars and tossed them like toys. It demolished buildings. It reduced the old Barrie Raceway to a pile of popsicle sticks, and it was registered at being over a half kilometers wide. And that was within the city boundary. Sadly, in Barrie, it killed 8 people, remaining the 7th deadliest tornado in Canadian history. Now, in Grand Valley, where it claimed 2 lives, it destroyed their public library. That too was an F4. And then just east of there in Tottenham, it was just a little bit further east, it claimed an additional 2 lives.
You know, friends, waiting in line for your money isn't fun. Canada Trust has a better idea. Their Johnny Cash money machines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's right. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all day, every day, just for you. So beat the lineups. Pick your own time to get your money. Johnny Cash money machines from Canada Trust. Because, friends, life's too short to walk the line.
Good morning. Welcome to Canada AM for Friday morning. It is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. It's February 14th. I'm Linda McLennan.
Good morning. I'm Norm Perry.
Are you a Dr. Spock child? Were you
Yes,
raised?
yes.
And I think I was too. And in fact, there are 4 generations of children raised by Dr. Spock. We will talk with Dr. Spock this morning, not just about raising children, but about growing up and about old age today.
We don't have him to blame, though, for the way we turned out, do we?
Well, my family might see it otherwise, but yeah, who knows? We'll also talk this morning with Oscar Peterson. Ann Romer had a chance to talk with that Canadian jazz great, who's now professor of jazz studies, university professor. That for you later this morning.
Helmut Buxbaum, the self-made millionaire, was convicted yesterday of the contract killing of his wife. He was sentenced to life in prison. The earliest he could be out for parole would be 25 years.
Yesterday's incident in Prague has launched a heated debate in Canadian hockey circles. Did the Canadian team and its coaches behave as they should? Don Jerry, who do you blame?
Well, I don't. I blame the Russians. Naturally, anybody with any mind would blame the Russians. It definitely wasn't Bert Templeton's fault at all, because what are you supposed to do? See 20 Russians going to go at 5 Canadians. I'd like to ask Michael right here and now, if his son was one of the 5 and he was being beaten up by the Russians, would he say, stay on the bench, let my son be beat up? I think not.
Good evening and a warm welcome to you in British Columbia, where the polls have just closed. I'm Peter Mansbridge. We've run out of time zones now. Canadians have finished voting everywhere, and we can tell our new viewers in BC that Brian Mulroney has done what he said he would, and that is win a second consecutive majority government for his Conservatives, a real rarity in Canadian politics. That majority is based on results that have already come in from 9 other provinces and the Northwest Territories. Let's look at the latest numbers. For the Conservatives, they have elected 158 members. They're leading in 5 other seats for a total of 155, and as you can see, the numbers change as we talk. The Liberals are at 85. The NDP is at 24.
1988, when President Ronald Reagan attended a G7 summit in Toronto. Here's a portion of President Reagan's remarks to the Empire Club of Canada on June 21st as the summit ended.
Toronto, like Canada itself, is brimming with strength, vitality, and self-assurance. Those qualities, together with our similar heritages and common values, have made the relationship between the United States and Canada unique in world history. We have been best friends, important trading partners, and allies for more than a century and a half.
Since we're talking about this free trade agreement, there's one line I'd like to change.
Which line is that?
Well, this one here. It's just getting in the way.
Just how much are we giving away in the Mulroney Free Trade Deal? Our water, our health care, our culture? The line has been drawn. Which side do you stand on? Don't let Mulroney deceive you again. This is more than an election. It's your future. On November 21st, vote Liberal.
Television service of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, serving the province of Newfoundland with production and transmission facilities located at CBNT St. John's, Channel 8, CBYT Corner Brook, Channel 5, CFLA Goose Bay, Channel 8, and CBN-LT Labrador City, Channel 13, with additional rebroadcasting stations located throughout the province. CBNT Channel 8 St. John's has a power output of 325 kilowatts and serves eastern and southern Newfoundland. In addition, CBNT's program schedule is rebroadcast on CBN-AT Grand Falls, Channel 13, serving central and northern Newfoundland and southern Labrador. These stations are now concluding their broadcast day and will return to the air tomorrow morning. This is Glenn Tilley speaking for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Good night.
This was a Biscuit Cat 2021 production.